Lesson 9-5, Determine Outcomes of Compound Events. In this lesson, you will learn how to find all possible outcomes of a compound event. Please listen and take notes throughout the lesson, all the way to the end through the video, in order to make sense of this lesson before you try the Math Excel. Solve and discuss it. Cameron packed 2 pairs of shorts and 3 t-shirts for a weekend trip. What are some combinations of shirts and shorts that Cameron can wear while on his trip? How many days will he have a different outfit to wear? In this problem, what I did is I assigned each color the letter that begins with that color name in order to make it easier to organize a list of possible outfits. Each outfit should consist of 1 shirt and 1 pair of shorts. Assuming that we don't care about the colors and whether or not they actually match or whether or not you would wear them, we need to make combinations of shirts and shorts to determine how many different outfits Cameron can pack. 2 possible combinations of outfits are putting the yellow shirt with the green shorts and the yellow shirt with the blue shorts. In this case, the yellow shirt with each pair of shorts makes 2 outfits. Do that with each of the other 2 shirts, white with green shorts, white with blue shorts, and red with green shorts and red with blue shorts, to see that you have a total of 6 different outfits that Cameron could wear on his trip. Example 1, find all possible outcomes. Haley has 2 sisters and no brothers. Josh has 2 brothers and no sisters. They wonder what the chances are in a family with 3 children that the children will be all boys or all girls. How can they determine all possible outcomes of boys and girls in a family with 3 children? Step 1 is to list the different events and the outcomes from each event. In this case, the events are 3 children, and each child could be a boy or a girl. So, in other words, you have 2 outcomes for child 1, 2 outcomes for child 2, and 2 outcomes for child 3. This is a compound event because more than one event is taking place at the same time, in this case 3. Step 2 is to make a tree diagram to represent the sample space. A tree diagram shows all the possible outcomes. So when child 1 is born, if it's a boy, here, you can follow the tree diagram to see about child 2, which could either be a boy or a girl, and then follow each of those leads down to find the 3rd child, which could either be a boy or a girl as well. In this case, I've traced the tree diagram showing child 1 a boy, child 2 a boy, and child 3 a boy. So the combination of 3 boys will happen once out of all the possible outcomes of having 3 children. Following Haley, if child 1 is a girl, you can follow that tree diagram, those branches, down to see that there is only 1 outcome for child 2 and 3 that also produces girls, or a girl-girl-girl combination. So out of 8 possible outcomes in 3 children, there's only 1 outcome that could be all boys or 1 outcome that could be all girls. Making a tree diagram shows all the possible ways that 3 events here can happen. Now take a look at the try it. Pause the video, complete the try it, and come back and check your answer. In this try it question, Jorge is flipping 2 quarters at the same time. Each quarter has 2 possible outcomes. And what you'll notice is that there are 4 outcomes altogether. The sample space shows all of 4 of those outcomes. In other words, quarter 1 could be heads, and so could quarter 2. Quarter 1 could be heads, and quarter 2 could be tails. Quarter 1 could be tails, and quarter 2 could be heads, and both quarters could be tails. So there are 4 possible outcomes for this compound event. Next, let's look at example 2. In this example, we're going to use a table to represent that sample space. In other words, we're going to make a table to show all the possible outcomes that can happen. A game is played by spinning 2 spinners shown. Players match the results of the spinners to combinations on their game cards. How many different combinations are possible? You can see from the 2 spinners that the spinner on the left, the red one, is lettered A through F, and the spinner on the right is numbered 1 through 6. Making a table just means Put each of those outcomes along either the left side or the top of the table, and then combine the two outcomes to create those letter and number combinations. In this example, you have a total of 6 outcomes that are numbers and 6 outcomes that are letters. So the table ends up being a 6 by 6 table, or 36 possible outcomes. You can use this table then to identify a probability of a certain number or letter combination out of those 36 possible outcomes, and we'll be doing that in the next lesson. Now let's take a look at example 3. In this example, we're just going to use an organized list to represent the sample spaces. An organized list is very similar to the table in that it shows all the possible outcomes in a pair, but this time you're just not making the table diagram. So here you have a number cube, and you have it numbered with 6 possible outcomes, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, or 6, and you have a coin that you're going to flip, and the coin has 2 possible outcomes. It's either heads or tails, and the organized list takes each number from the number cube and matches it with an outcome from flipping the coin. So for example, if I roll a 1 on the number cube, I can get heads or tails on the coin to make 2 outcomes. But I have 6 possible things that can show up on that number cube, which means each of those 6 possible outcomes has to be matched with the 2 possible outcomes on the coin. And what you'll notice here is that if you multiply the number of outcomes for each of those items independently, then you get the total number of outcomes on the compound event, which in this case is 12. Now I want you to complete the try it at the bottom of the page. Come back and view the video to see if you're right. Okay, so did you get those right? There are 9 possible outcomes, matching each letter with each of those numbered tiles. In this case, I made the organized list. You could have made a table like they did in example 2. The key concept in this page shows how the compound events can happen in a combination of 2 or more events. You have 3 choices of how to organize your information. An organized list just lists the pairs as they appear. A table shows the outcomes on the left side and on the top, and then uses the cells inside the table to list those outcomes. Or you have a tree diagram to show those possible outcomes and what can happen. The only thing I want to warn you about is the tree diagram. This one makes it a little bit harder to see those combinations of the compound event unless at the bottom of each of those branches you list those outcomes. So for example, in this tree diagram here, I should be listing heads, 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 tails, tails, heads, and tails, tails underneath that tree diagram to show those 4 possible outcomes. Now I want you to complete question 4. Come back to the video when you have your answer and check to see if you're right. You may want to pause the video while you check your answer. In this problem, you have 2 spinners. Each spinner has 3 outcomes. One spinner is colored, red, blue, or green, and the other spinner is numbered 1, 2, or 3. So making a table shows how you can combine each color with each number for 9 possible outcomes. Now try number 5. Pause the video while you work and come back and view the answer when you're done. Okay, now check your answer to question 5. In this question, you were asked to make a tree diagram. So the tree diagram shows each of the outcomes from one event and then branches off to show the outcomes for the second event. In this case, each letter, X, Y, and Z, can be paired with each number, 1 or 2, to make a total of 6 possible outcomes. Now I want you to try question 11 or question 12. I'm going to do both of them, so come back and check your answer to the one you did do, and then take a look at the answer and the explanation for the one that you chose not to do. Put both of them in your binder notes. Now let's take a look at question 11. In this question, there are 2 friends ordering drinks, kiwi, lemon, or watermelon, at some sort of a diner. So in this case, although we have 2 friends, we have 3 outcomes for each friend because each friend could order any of those 3 flavors. What that means is that they could order the same flavor, so there are still 9 possible outcomes. Now take a look at question 12. In question 12, you have 3 outcomes for size and 3 outcomes for color. So those plastic souvenir cups, you could order small and combine it with any of the 3 colors, red, white, or blue, and same for the medium and the large size cups. So again, we have 9 outcomes. The difference between these 2 problems is that in problem 11, the combinations could be identical, with each friend ordering the same flavor. In question 12, you have 3 separate outcomes for each of those events. So you will only match each size with its independent color. But in both cases, you end up with 9 possible outcomes. Pause the video if you need more time copying this into your binder. Next, we're going to take a look at questions 14 and 15. Again, choose one to do, and when you're done, come back to the video and check your answer on the one you chose, as well as copying the one that you didn't do into your binder as well. So you'll have both examples written down. Question 14 is similar to question 11. You have the same 4 digits, but they're going to be used twice because you're making 2-digit numbers. So you have 4 possible outcomes for the first digit and 4 possible outcomes for the second digit, which means you have a total of 16 possible outcomes. In question 15, you're using that table and you're making a number-letter combination. Now the important part here is that it does say number then letter. So when you make your combinations, you're going to put the number in front of the letter. Traditionally, the way we do that is whatever is in the row headings is in front of the column headings. And you can see that in the table. In this case, you have 3 numbers and 6 letters to make a total of 18 possible outcomes. Once you have those into your binder notes, then you are ready to complete Lesson 9-5 Math Excel.